Oh god, the music.
Have a good life.
Oh my god. It's such a short scene as well, but it has so much punch. It's like it's the writing equivalent of the Bruce Lee 2-inch punch. Oh my god. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and we're finally at the end of the journey, at the end of the trip of a lifetime, 20 years later. It has been 20 years since the broadcast of Doctor Who, Series 1, The Parting of the Ways, and that means 20 years since we said goodbye to the Ninth Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston. I remember this weekend very vividly 20 years ago, because between the broadcast of Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways was my 13th birthday. And basically, over the past 12 weeks 20 years ago, I'd been finding and obsessing over my new hyperfixation with Doctor Who. I was picking up the DVDs from To Entertain, I was going through the Doctor Who website, looking over clips and learning as much as I could about the classic series, and then basically between the broadcast of The Parting of the Ways and The Christmas Invasion, I was getting all of the books, I was reading more about the lore. It really was a stroke of genius 20 years ago for BBC Worldwide to really lean in on the past of the show so that this new generation of kids like myself who were introduced to the show in 2005 with this revival, they had plenty of material to chew on, they had plenty to read up on and study on and learn about between the gaps in the episode. It meant that even if we weren't a particularly big fan of the previous episode, we could still go into the playground, we could still talk to all of our friends at school and everything about the past of the show and stuff that we learnt about. It's why in the Next Time trailer at the end of Bad Wolf, when the Dalek Emperor says they survived through me and my older brother thought, is that Davros? Is this the Dalek Emperor? What is this thing? And then that just fueled a bit more speculation. And with Doctor Who The Parting of the Ways broadcasting on my birthday weekend and my group of friends and my older brother now obsessing over Doctor Who, it was obvious what the centerpiece of the weekend would be. For my birthday, our friends came over to my house, we made popcorn. To celebrate the occasion now 20 years later, I've brought some myself for this reaction, and we all sat down at 7 PM on this night in June to watch the Ninth Doctor face his final battle. Now, we knew going in that David Tennant would be taking over. We'd read it in the press, we'd read it in the TV magazines and everything. The question was, how would that happen? And in the days leading up to this, the BBC had a pretty big marketing campaign to promote the finale of the series. I remember going onto the Doctor Who website every day to watch the latest trailer because they had a 5-day countdown which wound up on the DVD box set, where in the 5 days leading up to the broadcast of The Parting of the Ways, they drop a new trailer with a countdown. Time is up in 5 days, and they had one of these every day leading up to the broadcast. And I'm going to assume that the BBC put these trailers together relatively last minute, as in like maybe a couple of weeks before broadcast, because they weren't really expecting the show, the revival in 2005, to be as big as it was, but it was so good, it just immediately made a massive impact culturally. Rose was seen by nearly 11 million people, and the show was able to maintain most of that audience for the next few months. So they thought, okay, let's start pulling out the stops and market this finale, let's put together this countdown. And the true Doctor Who The Parting of the Ways experience, for me at least, has the 30-second countdown before the episode. So this reaction, this 20 years later reaction, is going to include that. Num num.
Can only mean danger, and I mean fatal.
Oh, it's so good. You don't get stuff like this anymore. Time is up. Now, we can watch The Parting of the Ways proper, now that the experience is complete. Let's dive into Doctor Who, The Parting of the Ways.
Rose,
Yes, Doctor?
I'm coming to get you.
Of course, this is the first episode, or the first two-parter of this series, where they don't immediately resolve the cliffhanger before the opening credits. It's too big to resolve. Blimey, the last time we'll see Eccleston's name in the opening credits. God, I love that opening shot.
And even if I did, I wouldn't tell you.
I talked in Dalek when reacting to it, the simplicity of the setups, but like just these opening few shots, there's a lot of setups here. There's the POV, There's this, like, over the shoulder both ways for the Dalek. This close-up of Rose. This close-up, which places emphasis on this Dalek eye stalk. This side shot. This close-up. There's a lot of setups here. Like, this isn't a criticism. It just kind of shows that they clearly had a lot of time on this set. They had a lot of time to shoot this scene and get this many setups in. And it really pays off. It really makes the whole setup, the opener, really feel frenetic and, like, breakneck. Oh. Oh god, Boomtown really isn't filler. Oh, and that's the line he says in The Day of the Doctor. So before going on to rescue Rose, he's going to make a really quick trip to Gallifrey to help save it from the Time War real quick. Oh, here comes the Doctor. That Dalek is so confused. Nicely done with the defabricator. Oh, that look of disgust on his face. I like how they immediately take the shot.
The oncoming storm. You might have removed. Doesn't it just burn when you face me?
Oh god, that delivery. There's only one classic era Doctor that I think could have nailed that delivery, and that's McCoy. I actually can't imagine another classic era Doctor having that level of venom and intensity. It is a nice way of sort of distinguishing the Ninth Doctor as his own individual incarnation. And despite it being a mystery in the promo and in the Next Time trailer, we're less than 5 minutes into the parting of the ways and we establish that it's the Dalek Emperor. Obviously there is a mystery to be resolved in the marketing, but they play their hand relatively early because the story is not about the mysteries, it's not about the callbacks and the references. These facilitate the dynamic of the story, something I think Russell could maybe learn 20 years from now. God, and you can see the guards as well. You get a better look at them in some of the books of, like, you know, the Aliens and Enemies, Monsters and Villains books that were released after broadcast. You get a better look at their weaponry and their black domed helmets. These are like distinct renders. These are distinct models from the bronze ones, but you can barely even tell here. It just kind of shows the attention to detail that they had in regards to the post-production work for this story, for this particular two-parter. I also love the characterization of the Emperor Dalek as a megalomaniacal Dalek with a god complex. A Big Finish have sort of taken that material and ran with it in their Time War audios. You've got Rassilon, played by Richard Armitage, who I dub Hot Rassilon, and he also has a god complex because he wants to enact what would be enacted in the End of Time, the final mission, the final aim of the Time Lord to become incorporeal godlike creatures free of consciousness, and they sort of like match god complexes in the Time War, Rassilon and this Dalek Emperor. It's a really cool baseline for characterization. It's cool as well to see a healthy mutant in this environment compared to what we saw in Dalek only a few weeks ago, which was a Dalek that was sort of the result of torture, about to die, just barely clinging on to life. Oh, sorry, I'll stop pausing.
So if anybody's going to shut up, it's you!
They recoil, I love it. They had real confidence in that prop to have so many close-ups. Oh yeah, it's great that they get these reactions as well. Once again, Joe Ahern must have had a lot of setup time. Like, relatively speaking to what he's worked with before in the series, he must have had a lot more, like, freedom to just place the camera wherever he wanted to get the coverage necessary. It might have been a multi-camera setup, I don't know. Oh god, and I was just about to go on a bit of a screed about, like, the subtext of the episode where they've been driven mad in all the isolation in order to claw back victory from the jaws of defeat. But I don't have to, because the Ninth Doctor's about to do it, and I know writers who use subtext, and they are all cowards.
You hate your own existence. That makes them more deadly than ever.
Nicholas Briggs is great as well. And I love the bravado as he shuts the door, but He's so defeated and despondent here. And folks, we're going to return to the shooting script. I have seen in the comment section of these videos that some of you genuinely do appear to be playing a game of bingo with these reactions. I am not privy to these bingo cards, so once this whole series is done, you're going to have to let me know what's on these bingo cards. I understand that getting out the shooting script is one of the squares on the bingo board. The Emperor and his Dalek army all screaming Madam Wild, the whole ship echoing as the Doctor, Rose and Jack step into the TARDIS, the Doctor, defiant, last to go through the doors. And then the next scene, the Doctor, as he closes the door, leans against it, all his defiance gone. He's terrified. Love it, love it.
Get on. Did you contact Earth?
We tried to warn them, but all they did was suspend our license because we stopped the program.
I love that they're not able to call for help or communicate with Earth because they're so annoyed that they turned off Big Brother.
Didn't want to leave you.
Aww.
There weren't enough shuttles anyway.
Is anyone listening? Where's my money?
It's so good. God, I love it as well that you've got these Daleks floating above. They didn't have to do that at the mill, but they did because it makes it 100 times more grandiose. And I love these model shots as well. Sometimes the Dalek Emperor CGI, but in shots like this, it is a model creation, and I love it. A real great combination of arts. The whole production team cooking so hard 20 years ago.
A delta wave. A delta wave.
What's it? We'll get started then, do it.
I don't get why Rose is so visibly annoyed at that. That's not in the script. I remember reading that and like the lack of that being in the screenplay. It just makes Rose look really, really petty. That's probably one of the few things about this finale that I don't like. I'm not trying to say that Rose should always be virtuous and that Rose should always be perfect, but this seems just a little bit, I don't know, it seems a bit beneath her.
Stop the Daleks from physically invading.
Do they know about the Delta Wave?
They'll have worked it out at the same time.
Barrowman's good at exposition. I gotta give him that much.
Guards had guns with bastic bullets. That's enough to blow a Dalek wide.
And Bastic Bullets, that's a callback to Revelation of the Daleks.
Thanks.
Aw.
And I'll do my best.
And look at Rose, why is she so annoyed? Come on. Aw. And the way, that little look she gives to the TARDIS, they know what they're doing here.
You are worth fighting for.
I don't know. All she's done this episode so far is get really petty at Linda with a Y.
She's much better off as a coward.
God, such a brilliant line as well. It's a short journey, like 5 episodes including this one, for Jack in this series, but, you know, it says a lot about his character. I've said this multiple times before, if this was broadcast now in 2025, and I understand that there were criticisms in 2005, criticisms that I basically avoided because I wasn't in comment sections, I wasn't on forums or anything when this series was broadcasting. I didn't really get onto forums until the 2009 specials or series 5, and so 2009, 2010, so I thankfully avoided all of this, like, you know, Russell's gay agenda or whatever, but if this was broadcast in 2025, this would be like the hot debate on like 100 reactionary video thumbnails and YouTube videos and GB News and stuff like that. We really have regressed over the past 20 years in so many ways. Yeah, there's the really great Confidential interview with Barrowman where he's like going through his thought process for that scene, and he's like, okay, how I kiss Rose, I have to kiss the Doctor in exactly the same way. And you know, it's a very thoughtful way to approach the scene.
He's gonna be alright, isn't he?
I mean, he gets a spin-off out of this.
And as far as I can tell, they'll head up, not down. But that's not a promise.
Foreshadowing.
Then tell me that the Daleks aren't real.
This isn't a wholly original interpretation of the Daleks and how they're seen through the pop culture of the Whoniverse, basically. This has been done before by David Whittaker in Curse of the Daleks in the stage play, where they assumed that after the Great Dalek Wars, which is never really elaborated on what the Dalek Wars were, that the Daleks disappeared, and there were songs written about them, you know, remember, remember the Dalek December. You can also contrast that with the Cybermen in the Whoniverse during the 60s as well, where Tomb of the Cybermen, that opens with a group of archaeologists wanting to rediscover the Cybermen because they went missing centuries ago and they don't know why. So it's cool bits of world building that I love it when Doctor Who throws this stuff in every so often, because it kind of gives the audience a frame of reference for why aren't they scared of the Daleks, because they disappeared thousands of years ago. They're a fairy tale. They're a nightmare that parents would tell their kids about.
We could leave. Let history take its course. We go to Marbella in 1989.
Yeah, but you'd never do that.
No, but you could ask.
It's a nice little contrast as well that I've never really picked up on for Rose's speech later in the chip shop when she says that you don't just let things happen, you take a stand, you say no. And this scene is sort of like the Doctor emphasizing that to Rose, that, you know, he could leave, he could just let history take its course, but he won't let that happen because he's the only one who can stop them.
Rose Tyler, you're a genius! I used the TARDIS to cross my own timeline.
And I remember little recently turned 13-year-old me with his friends and his brother watching this on the weekend when the music kicked in and this celebratory moment was happening. I remember us getting really hyped, thinking, oh god, what's he going to do? How's he going to save everybody? Cross his own timeline? Will there be multiple Doctors? Will there more Nines? Multiple Doctors? What's going on here? And getting so enraptured in the drama. And then we learn in a couple of seconds time that it's an act. So effective. God. He's so convincing. Like, he can't let on at all for a moment, otherwise Rose will be in danger. Oh, I'm so sad for him. He looks like he is about to cry. No, Doctor, no.
This is emergency program 1. Rose, now listen. The TARDIS is taking
Oh
you
god, the music.
one thing.
Have a good life.
Oh my god. It's such a short scene as well, but it has so much punch. It's like it's the writing equivalent of the Bruce Lee 2-inch punch. Oh my god. Oh, look how drab everything is. Look who's here. He's here to resolve everything from Boomtown. But, no, sorry, Rose is upset. They can't talk about it right now.
There's one thing I never worked out. The words bad wolf.
I love that angle as well. Especially how the Doctor walks into the centre of frame and it's right where the eye is of the Dalek.
It's gone up market, this place.
What a great establisher.
He did the right thing. He sent you back to me.
And this is basically an extension of the conversation from World War III. I could save the world but lose you. And in this case, he wasn't able to make the trade. He's gonna send Rose back home.
What do I do with everything?
And this speech, who's come to join me? Who's this? Theodore? Theodore, Jodie Whittaker was the Doctor when you were born. What emotional attachment do you have to Christopher Eccleston? Mwah. But yeah, so this speech here as well is basically the point of this series of Doctor Who. It is the mission statement, and it's basically just laid out by Rose flat out here. Once again, writers who use subtext are cowards. Come on, let's watch Rose have an existential breakdown.
Eat chips and go to bed. Is that it?
What the rest of us do.
No. Oh, he's purring so loudly.
You've the guts to do what's right when everyone else just runs away and I...
Go, Rose, go! Here it comes. Here they come, Theo. It's the Daleks. Oh, no, Theo. It's okay. The Daleks aren't real. They disappeared thousands of years ago. God, and this is definitely a modernization. Having this many Daleks on screen at once. Something you could never have even dreamed of in the classic series. Even the Peter Cushing movies couldn't have imagined this level of Dalek. Pose for camera. Pose complete. Forward. Wasn't there a story that the production team got, like, fined by the council for graffitiing? Have I made that up? There's like some sort of like weird behind the scenes trivia here. I just can't remember what it is. God, there's so many of them.
She's not listening now, is it?
God, Boomtown is the least filler episode.
There's nothing left for you.
Nothing.
Hey Rose, do you have to say it with that particular tone? So let's play a game of where on earth do you put the cliffhanger here? Because it's way too early to put it at Emergency Program 1. I presume it's when the Daleks start invading? Yeah, I presume it's when the Dalek fleet arrives. It's not quite the best cliffhanger that you could have, but it's the most well-placed. God, I love that shot as well. You see the shadow first. That's like... Who directed Genesis of the Daleks? David Maloney?
Slice them up.
Oh, no.
Daleks have ridden along.
We don't have the budget for that, sorry. Oh, that's a filthy car. Mickey, what are you doing, man? Where have you been driving that? I'd laugh so hard if that kick did it.
495 should be good. I like 495.
This is great.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I'm curious if the droid was repurposed, so it just transmats them back onto their mothership or something. But either way, that's gut-bustingly funny. Immediately contrasted with one of the most depressing scenes of the series. Wait, where's that choir coming from? And to centre it on Roderick as well for this scene. They do it for no other reason than they're there.
They killed them all.
Such incredible restraint for an incredibly depressing scene as well. God, so much sauce.
Remember when Dad died? She held his hand.
Oh god, she's so good. They're both great here. Such like a strong beat, but it's also like a rock bottom moment. God, there's so many great little scenes here that you just kind of forget about. Like back to back to back. It is like an assault on the senses, but it doesn't feel overstuffed. It doesn't feel like strenuous. With the 45-minute runtime as well, there's really not a minute wasted.
Say when this is all over, if we're still alive, maybe we can go for a drink.
It is basically the equivalent of I'm one day away from retirement, but it's still a nice little beat. Like, these are real people fighting. And then here's the epic moment where Shireen is driving the truck. She turns up like Black Panther in Avengers Endgame.
Rodrigo. He owes me.
Rodrigo? Rodrigo is Shireen's dad.
And it's exactly what he would have done.
It works because of so much groundwork being set beforehand. You know, Father's Day, Boomtown, Empty Child, Dr. Dances with Captain Jack as well. All the heavy lifting from Bad Wolf. It's like, honestly, going from Dalek all the way up until the finale, and even then you could argue it could be Aliens of London and World War III, which set up Boomtown as well. So you could even go further back if you wanted. But really, from Dalek to the Parting of the Ways, there's not been an episode wasted. It has been, for all intents and purposes, a sprint to the finish with all of these themes, all of these characters, all of these plot points, because so much heavy lifting has happened beforehand. Whereas going back to 2025, and I'm sorry to do the modern day comparison, Wishworld is a really interesting story conceptually, but it does no heavy lifting in order to help the reality war. It's self-contained to a fault, meaning that the reality war has to resolve all of this stuff. All of these episodes should really exist amongst each other, and this is what series 1 has done, and it's really playing its hand here. You don't feel like it's setting up a bunch of stuff for the finale, but then you watch the finale and it doesn't work without them. It's so cohesively done, even if those episodes weren't written by Russell primarily. God, they're just outside. Come on, Doctor, work faster. That's what a little bitch would say. Woo! 1 down, 500,000 to go. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, and this bit's terrific as well. Not only do you have this callback now to the original Dalek story with the cutter Dalek that's able to slice through the door, but then it becomes a two-pronged attack because they head for the window. And I remember now as well, watching this 20 years ago, when she like looks over her shoulder, me and my brother and friends were thinking, oh, is she going to like break open the window to like suck the Daleks into the vacuum of space? But no, it's worse than that. And this is Joe Ahern's death as well. When I did my interview with him, you know exactly what they've said. Oh God, and he's so defeated. Big yellow truck time. Oh yes. I don't know when this is meant to be, but then they don't see her again until Christmas. Oh, I need 3 days. This is a great POV shot as well. Oh, here it goes. Here she comes. Yeah, he just fights to the last bullet. That's such a great shot. The lighting's terrific. He'll be back. He's gonna be alright, isn't he? And he can't do it. If this had been at the start of the series, he would have had no qualms about doing it, but ironically, it's his love and attachment to Rose and everything that she's shown him that has given him this, quote, weakness, but it's not a weakness, it's what makes him the Doctor.
Maybe it's time.
And the Daleks are like, which one gets to do it? Which is the one? Sorry, Ernie Vince really turned the lights on.
You looked into the time vortex.
Rose, you idiot. What the fuck?
In time and space.
There we go. That's that.
You've got to stop this now.
You're gonna burn.
You're gonna burn.
Now, it's a Deus Ex Machina, but it's so well earned because it has been building up all series with the Bad Wolf, and also this comes at a sacrifice because this is going to kill Rose. Deus Ex Machinas can work as long as they come with some sort of caveat or sacrifice, and that's what this is.
Just let go.
How can I let go of this? I bring spin-offs!
Will there ever could be?
Oh, I love that music cue.
Doesn't it drive you mad? I think you need a doctor.
Cheesy line, but I'm mixed on the kiss, but it's, you know, it gets the energy out of her, I guess. But I've said my piece before that I prefer this relationship as like a fatherly one. This kind of doesn't jibe with that, but, you know, I've said my piece. I don't care, I'm enraptured in the drama. And just for those few moments before that, the Doctor didn't feel so alone, because Rose was able to see what he sees, but it's his burden to carry. Lovely visual storytelling. The music's great as well. But yeah, that's probably the most proactive thing that the Doctor does across the entire series as well, because one part of Rose's speech in that Chippy as well is about the influence that the Doctor has had on not just Rose's life, but everybody who they've met and encountered. It's also like Mickey and Jackie, but also people like Kathika in the long game. It's the Doctor's influence that makes her decide to rise up against Satellite 5. Charles Dickens, the influence that the Doctor had on him, gave him a new lease on life and helped him to save everybody in that mortuary. Characters like Jabe in The End of the World, like Pete Tyler in Father's Day, like Captain Jack in the latter half of the series. Just the Doctor has not actually been that helpful in and of himself in terms of his actual utility as a character, but in terms of the impact that he's had on everybody that they've encountered in this series. That's what being the Doctor means. That's how you change the universe, one good person at a time. And that's what he's done over the course of this whole series. And here we go. This is regeneration, distilled and explained in under 3 minutes. God, I'm not ready for this. The Ninth Doctor's last scene.
It's a bit dodgy, this process.
It was so important for them to get this right as well, because this is introducing the concept of regeneration and renewal to a whole new generation of viewers. If you get this wrong, you basically hamper the show's longevity. But because they so effectively communicated it and made it such a wonderful end to this beloved Doctor, then that's basically why the show's been able to keep on going for the past 20 years. Unironically, these 3 minutes in this scene essentially ensure the revival's longevity. And he spends his final moments making it easy on Rose. I'm going to change, but it's going to be okay.
Not like this. Not with this daft old face.
Thanks, Eccleston. You ruined my 13th birthday. I'm kidding. It's so lovely to see that, at least on screen, his Doctor does get to go out with a smile and get to go out with acknowledgement, like a little victory of his.
And you know what? So was I.
And he goes out with a big beaming smile. And then you've got the Phoenix imagery with the rebirth. And bam! The Doctor is reborn with pre-gelled hair. I want to see what the original ending of this episode was, pre-regeneration being filmed. Doctor Who will return in the Christmas Invasion. Okay, so I need to re-record my outro here because for some reason the microphone just stopped working, like as soon as the episode ended. So the parting of the ways, it's kind of extraordinary that it works as well as it does because it is chocker full of like impactful gut punch moments, of these lovely little character beats and moments. It genuinely does not feel like a single minute or a single scene was wasted. And you think about Russell T Davies finales now and like how jam-packed they are, how many characters there are, how many villains there are, etc. And it feels so overstuffed. But really with the parting of the ways, it doesn't feel overstuffed, but it feels like you literally, logistically could not get any more in there. It feels so jam-packed, but not a single scene or dialogue or like moment is wasted. It's like just under 46 minutes long, and the scene with the Doctor meeting the Emperor Dalek is like 3 minutes long. The regeneration is 3 minutes long. Emergency Program 1 is a minute long. Like there's so much like economy of storytelling and like such incredible structure and editing done to make sure that these impactful moments and these impactful scenes land with real pinpoint precision and, you know, with so little fluff, so little quote filler, or whatever you want to call it. It's really a massive feat of storytelling, and it kind of shows that you can throw hundreds of villains into a story, you can throw hundreds of characters and callbacks and references and stuff and all of these ideas, but at the end of the day, The Parting of the Ways is basically just a base under siege story with a Deus Ex Machina that works because it comes with consequences. I actually think that a version of the story where the Doctor does not regenerate at the end is a lesser story for it, because otherwise, and I think the original version that they filmed was that, you know, Eccleston and Billy Piper were about to fly off to more adventures, and then the Doctor looks at the TARDIS console monitor and it's got like a scan of Rose and it says life form dying, and okay, maybe it could have resolved that way, you know, maybe the next series is about trying to find a way to help Rose survive the energy of the time vortex running through her, but you know, without a consequence like that, the Deus Ex Machina doesn't really work, or it feels cheap. But Christopher Eccleston, Billy Piper, John Barrowman, Camille Coduri, all of the cast generally are doing incredible work, and Joe Ahern as well, like directing it. Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways is one of the best directed Doctor Who stories, and I'll stand by that. It just looks brilliant, and the Daleks are genuinely intimidating, genuinely scary. Some really great set pieces with the Daleks, even though ultimately you could kind of replace the Daleks with almost any other threat, and logistically not much around the story itself would change, but you know, it is still a really strong and effective Dalek story for them being there. And getting that regeneration right at the end was absolutely crucial, and I think they did it. Well, the proof's in the pudding. I became a lifelong Doctor Who fan with this series, and going from The Parting of the Ways to The Christmas Invasion, I would use those 6 months to research as much about Doctor Who as possible, watch loads of classic series episodes on DVD, go through all of the books and the expanded media material. It basically made a fan of me for life, and I'm still here 20 years later. And that has been basically the core of this reaction series. Thank you so much for sticking with it, of watching these episodes 20 years later. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on The Parting of the Ways. Hit the like button while you're down there as well. And yeah, thank you so much. A lot of people have been asking if I'm going to do more of these 20 years later reactions for The Christmas Invasion or Series 2 and everything else moving forward. I don't know. I already have a bit too much on my plate, so I wouldn't really hold your breath, but we'll see what my workload is like in a year's time. We'll have to, you know, wait and see. But thank you so much for watching, and you've all been fantastic. I'll see you all next time.